Well, I always knew that. I had my first show in New York and I can't even remember the date. But my sister lived in New York. I went up to visit her and I went to the galleries with my slides. And I had an appointment with Ivan Karp. Remember Ivan Karp? It was before he was at the gallery. It was, what was he at West Broadway? Whatever it was anyway, but he was across the street with that part of the street was not named West Broadway. I don't know if you remember, that was his first gallery. So I go in with my slides sitting there, you know, a little more than intimidated, nervous that I got the appointment. And I hear him screaming at somebody who he threw out of his office. It was like a cartoon where the water goes in an arc. And he says, and don't ever come back with this stuff. I have to go in next. So, and I, you know, in those days I weighed like 89 pounds and, you know, and the little person goes in there and I go in and he looks at the work. He said, yep, move to New York and you can make it. I had 2 infants. I had a non-supportive husband. We had driven my work to New York for the show that I had in New York with foam in between it. It squeaked the whole way there. It was a nightmare, you know, from Chicago. Anyway, I couldn't move to New York. But eventually I slept on people's sofas like Lila Katzen, who actually was really behind me. She, and I think Alex Rosenberg probably gave me my third show in New York. And that was big because he was handling Milton Avery and Henry Moore. I was like the little peanut on the shelf there. And eventually, I don't know to the Alex Rosenberg part, but I had a couple of solo shows, and one of the solo shows, a woman came from, I don't know, Washington University, I forgot where, and she was curating a show about the Statue of Liberty. And I had been doing these Marilyn Monroe kind of abstract expressionist paintings, huge paintings that were based on the Calendar Girls, February, March, April. And I still have some of them because a number, thank God, are sold. But one of them was called Two French Girls, based on the Statue of Liberty. And she said that she wanted that for the show. And Alex called me at that point. I was living in LA. And he said, Sheila, you're going to be in this show that's going to go to the New York Public Library and then the Louvre. And I said, what'd you say? He said, Louvre. I hung up and I called him back to make sure what he said. And so I was in a show, and I was the only, I think the only American woman. Roger Brown was the man. You remember Roger Brown's work? And me, and I have the catalog and all that. It was very, very exciting. And that painting was purchased prior to the exhibition by Norman Brayman's best friend. So that's how I had met the Braymans way before I moved here.